All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with Eric Lindquist. A little bit of Team Eric here on a Sunday as we get ready for a four-game featured slate. We've got a game at 6, two at 7, and then we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And then there's a 10 o'clock game. It's the Lakers. It's the Indiana Pacers. That's the game we really want to talk about, but we're going to talk about them all. How are you feeling today, Mr. Lindquist?
Feeling pretty darn good. Just got a good workout in. Watched Keith Mitchell shoot a million today. So that was good for certain things for me. Watching the golf streets. It's been a pretty disgusting golf tournament overall. The Valspar with no names really, and Kashmir Keith. I think he's 8 over, 9 over today. So pretty wild. NCAA tournament. My Dukies just get going in 15 minutes. I've already got my Iowa State Cyclones through to the next round. They're dancing Sweet 16 action. So all systems go here this weekend. How about you? How's the you're about to take the big move, yes?
Yes, it is. It has been nonstop. There is sleeping is optional at this point. The terror is off the charts. It is just for a lack of time is what it comes down
Yeah.
to. So even last night, I think I went to sleep around 9:30 or so. I couldn't even make it any later than that. Woke up around 3. I was telling you guys I just got up from a little non-negotiable nap. I had to take about a 45-minute power nap here because I just wasn't going to make it. The real question is, do I stay up and continue doing things after this show, or do I go to bed? I don't know. Gonna have to figure that out. But we are going to get on our merry way here. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Key things you need to know about that. One, sign up through the link in the YouTube description below here. I'm sure producer Jacob will drop that into chat as well. The other thing that is important is your first deposit match. They'll match it up to $100. So I should say your first deposit is matched up to $100. Those funds come out of your account first. A lot of fun to get in with those deposit bonuses. And then the final thing you need to know, you also get 1 free month of OddsShopper, which is very, very crucial because it has been providing us with lots of good picks. We also have all the pick'em sites over there on OddsShopper using the same market-based approach to identify good plays for you. So that is very, very helpful. Again, we've got a 4-gamer here, so do you want to just hit it by game real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. This should be pretty quick.
First one we got is going to be Cleveland at Miami. This one is the sole 6 o'clock game. 202 implied point total. Miami favored by 3.5. You're going to be without Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Dean Wade. However, you have Evan Mobley back. So that is going to shake things up just a little bit in the front court. On the Miami side, Tyler Hero remains out. Now we've got Jaime Jaquez out, the rookie that has been pretty good. He's dealing with the sore knee. Kevin Love remains out. It's been a couple weeks since he's played. And then Duncan Robinson is also out. The one you want to also know is Caleb Martin, game time decision. Even if we get a little bit more value in here for Miami, it's a little tough to trust going against Cleveland. Both of these teams are willing to play slow and more or less defensive oriented here, but Bam Adebayo available to play. What do you like from this first one? Is there anything really popping up at all as differentiation plays, as gut plays? What do you got for us, Lindy?
Yeah, I think there's some decent enough stuff. I mean, I'll weirdly start with the fact that Karis LeVert is like $100 away from Darius Garland, and I have more interest in Karis LeVert at this point in time. I think that's a pretty wild run out just from what our priors might have been. He's got the multi-positional eligibility still a piece that I like getting to. The assist rate's been through the moon here recently too. He's had, I believe it's 8 straight games now with 7+ assists or something ridiculous like that. I really like how he's kind of well, I guess 6+ assists, it was what it would be, but pretty okay with getting to a guy who's playing 38, 39 minutes a night in competitive spots in Karis LeVert here. It's just kind of a different iteration of him that we've seen on this team of late. I think the rest of the Cleveland Cavaliers get a little bit interesting, mainly Evan Mobley. I don't expect 40 minutes for him, but I mean, it's going to be 25, 26 more than likely. I don't think you're going to be playing him, but like, how is he going to affect Jared Allen? How is he going to affect Darius Garland? I think because of the positional point guard, shooting guard for Karis LeVert and what he's been doing within the framework of this offense, 1.06 fantasy point per minute producer, he's kind of the main dude that I want to be getting to. I know he's the most popular in quotes, but 16% is more than doable over on DraftKings. I'm actually playing a little bit more over on FanDuel today too. So for the people over on FanDuel, I made 50 lineups over there. And I'm just kind of, trying to overlap a little bit, getting everything going for baseball season, where I will definitely be playing both sites on opening day. But Karis LeVert, my favorite thing from Cleveland. How about you?
That would be the way I would land on this as well. Surprisingly, he's performed very well with everybody out. He is someone that has across a couple different stops teased ample potential, just never quite been able to find that consistency. Knocking on wood for him. He also tends to get injured at the most inopportune times, but he is coming up as the most popular Cleveland play for us, projected to be on just 16.1% of the DraftKings lineups over there on FanDuel. It's going to be Isaac Okoro. He is 4,800, does a little bit of everything, and he has that magic capability of being a shooting guard small forward over there, so that is elevating the interest there in him. Garland actually gets the bump on FanDuel. He is going to be on a quarter of all lineups, so that was interesting. And chat, a couple people have reached out to say, hey, who's playing FanDuel today? It is one Mr. Lindquist.
I am.
So there you are. Man of the people, doing it all for everybody here.
Something like that.
I did, if I remember correctly, I was looking long at going with the under, I think it was 3.5 3-pointers on Darius Garland. I did not end up taking that today.
Okay.
I ended up taking the under on 4.5 for Steph Curry. Well, so out of the frying pan into the fire, as they say. Why not go against the best shooter out there? But that was just this matchup here, especially when you look at Odd Shopper, which is very, very helpful to use too. It elevates a lot of the unders as being good plays, because the sports books don't, they don't know we don't like to root for unders. We want to root for overs. It's more exciting, right? We want to be positive. So they know that.
I root for money.
I root for money as well. So we start to look for the unders here, because that's where the value is. So you oftentimes will want to look against teams playing Cleveland, teams playing Orlando, teams playing against Miami here. Those are ways, Minnesota, those are ways to pick and choose some unders here and there that while it doesn't change the math, they have a path or a likelihood or a comfort level for those of us making those recommendations or putting our hard-earned wagers behind it, or hard-earned money behind those wagers. We want to check those things out. So that is key. So we kind of hit on Cleveland here. We'll have ample time for questions. Do you have anything you want to highlight from the Miami side?
Yeah, I mean, this is the more interesting side, I think, by far. First off, Jimmy Butler, sub 8K over on DraftKings on FanDuel, 8,500, but has small forward, power forward, which is a little bit interesting for the FanDuel slate. And then Isaac Okoro on FanDuel is definitely a thing. Small forward, shooting guard, an opportunity to get to what? 38% of him is what I currently have. I don't like that. It's not fun on the Cleveland side of things. So I wanted to at least highlight that. Forgot to bring that up, but I think Nikola Jovic, like, this is probably the main thing for me that happens in the absence of Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez, Kevin Love, Tyler Hero. Like, Jovic shooting, like, he's been out there pretty routinely in these kind of spots and gets a little bit further extended. He is for the DraftKings slate 4K as well. Those 19 minutes, it was a complete blowout against the Pelicans. I think he's due for around 28 or so here in this spot. We've got him a little bit on the lower end, I would say, at 22 minutes. I have him projected for a lot more minutes. Therefore, I'm getting to a lot more of him. I think even DraftKings wise, you can think about Delon Wright at 3,100 in the event that you have Caleb Martin that ends up out here as well. It's more that, obviously from a positional aspect, you have Rozier, Mills, and whomever, but like they can slide anybody over and have it be somebody like Delon Wright who just plays more. He's already going to be on the floor, play 15, 16 minutes, I would say. And, if you get Caleb Martin out, yeah, Haywood Highsmith probably plays more. Somebody asked me, is he a thing today in the chat? I don't think so. I'm probably not going to have a ton of interest. I mean, we could see those minutes elevated to 24, 25, but he's a 0.66 fantasy point per minute producer. We have better game environments coming up later in the night, specifically that late night hammer with a 242 total at the moment. So I definitely have interest on the Miami side of things, but I would say number one for me on DraftKings is going to be Jovic. Number two is going to be Jimmy Butler. Over on FanDuel, probably going to be some Caleb Martin in my life. If he ends up playing at 5,100, I do think he'll play quite a large role there. At 5K on DraftKings, power forward only, far less appealing to me.
Alrighty. Anything else you would like to call out from our first game?
Again, Delon Wright, it's risky. Again, 18 minutes is what we have him for. Again, you could see a little bit more, a little bit less. I do think Caleb Barton being out, as much as it might unlock Haywood Highsmith to some people, I would actually look at Wright as potentially being a little bit of a beneficiary with a couple of extra minutes, mainly because he's a 0.86 fantasy point per minute producer, doesn't need a ton of usage to get there. And I just think that there's more outs for a Delon Wright at 3,100 to get there for you than a Haywood Highsmith, even with the small forward, power forward positionality. At 3,600, you really need an outlier in terms of the usage, in terms of, some blocks and steals there. He averages nearly 1.5 of those, but you'd really need to see some kind of an elevated outlier performance to really get there for you. Whereas for me, with Wright, there's a lot of ways at that price point that he can work out.
I was just looking to see they don't have any lines posted, probably because he is not officially starting yet. But Delon Wright is someone if you get a half a steal, take the over on.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be starting it in any capacity. Like they've gone to this Mills thing, and Mills is going to be starting. Like I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
Good point as well. Closer they get to the game and the dust settles, they will. Some sites will start to put up secondary player props, especially in same game parlays. Anything 1+ steal is something that's worthwhile. For him. That's something after watching him at multiple stops, including with the Wizards, that is one to kind of watch for. Alrighty, let's look on over here at our second game. Let me get back over to the notes here. So we have we'll do the Oklahoma City one first. So we've got OKC at Milwaukee. Milwaukee is favored by a bucket here, 233. Projected point total. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is going to play. Chris Middleton is going to play. That's going to tighten things up a little bit there for Milwaukee, but it is good to see them in action. You also have an interesting option in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the other side. Why am I calling this out? Because both of these teams need this game. Milwaukee won. They gotta kind of stay in that second spot. They're not going to catch Boston, who already clinched a postseason spot, but they can stay ahead of that scrum for the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And then you've got Oklahoma City and Denver battling back and forth for the best record in the Western Conference, which would be the number 1 seed as well. So important game for both teams. We have seen the Milwaukee defense slide. They did get a bit of a resurgence when Glenn Rivers took over as the coach. See what I did there, Greg? I hope you're watching. Glenn Rivers, as the coach, sort of tweaked what he was doing. And I read a couple of articles on this. This is not my eye test, but he sort of adjusted what Giannis and Lopez were doing with regards to their positioning and how far away they were from the basket. And they saw a nice increase in their defensive efficiency. That's fallen apart over the last 10 games. They're right around, I think, 118 or 118 points allowed per 100 possessions. That's third worst in the league. So that was something that we were calling out, that they had started to tighten up things a little bit. They've gone in the other direction. So OKC looks appealing, but we kind of have like 3 players from each side that draw a lot of interest here. Are there ancillary plays? That's what we're going to find out from Mr. Lindquist. Talk to me about the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short slate. We've got 4 games, and obviously, if I'm going to talk about Jovic, he might be my favorite value play that we have from the first 3 the first 3 specific games here before we get to NDLA. But I do think you want to be taking shots in large field tournaments on ancillary pieces from OKC, whether it's Josh Giddey, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, who started some second halves in both in spot start type situations where guys got dinged up, or where they just kind of transfer out Lou Dort and put Cason Wallace in. It's kind of weird because they do a lot of the same things. Cason Wallace, not exactly a high fantasy point per minute producer by any means, but low usage, both defense first type dudes being Cason Wallace and Lou Dort. So it's just kind of like whatever they feel like at times. But you start with OKC with the fact that all 4 of the most popular plays are 1 position only over on DraftKings. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Lou Dort, SGA. They are all locked into single positions. And I think, obviously that limits the amount of ways that they can work out optimal for you. And one of the reasons that I wanted to play a little bit more over on FanDuel today is that I just think that, I'm getting more exposure to the plays that I'm finding to be the most beneficial, underneath the circumstances, based on site, based on price, and then based on our tools, where it's I don't want to just I don't want to boost a ton of I'm just trying to give an example on like the OKC side. I don't want to go through and have like a ton of Isaiah Joe just to get the multi-positional eligibility. I don't want to get Gordon Hayward. So for me to diversify, I'm doing it more by playing multiple sites today than what I am like saying, oh, I have a stand on Isaiah Joe. I have a stand on Gordon Hayward, because I really think they're terrible plays, like in the context of, point per dollar, in the context of projection. But on a 4-game slate, in the benefit of getting different, these are guys that I'm just letting the Sims tool do its thing. And it would appear Josh Giddey's somebody that at 1.13 fantasy point per minute rate, I'm just getting to a little bit more of, because I do think out of the pieces that aren't the key dudes, I mean, yeah, he's one of the starters, but he's by far the best fantasy point per minute producer out of anybody else there that isn't those core 4 dudes. And Lou Dort, we know he's not a good fantasy producer, but the positionality for him, just the small forward only, and he's always cheap, 4,200. You run into an outlier shooting game where he actually decides to shoot it, the 15% usage climbs up a little bit. That can really work out for you in 27 and a half, 28 minutes in a competitive game environment.
Question for you on Josh Giddey. We saw him, playing in some cases under 24 minutes a game as a starter. That is out the window. Did you read anything up on what changed? Had he been in the doghouse, philosophy changing, just different people in and out with injury? Not too many moving parts at this point, but was there any catalyst that has him somewhat trustworthy once again?
So what's happened is you've had some weird game scripts where against Toronto, I mean, they just blew him out of the water. He plays 22 minutes there. Then you run into a more competitive Utah spot, 26 minutes. Got dinged up, but high usage against Memphis, just 19 minutes. They were always going to be beating Memphis at some point in time there. I know that they were playing full strength against, this Memphis team isn't as bad as what they were, pre-Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. getting back. So I guess that's a plus. But otherwise, there's going to be 20, 28 minute type range of outcomes here for him. Got it to 32 against Portland, but I don't expect anything like that too often. It's just kind of a casualty of the fact that they have dudes in Case and Wallace that they like. Gordon Hayward got brought in to play, those mid-teens minutes here. Doubt that really gets ramped up on this iteration of this team. Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams. There's enough dudes who just fill in 14, 16 minutes. And then come playoff time, you're going to see Chet elevated from 30 minutes, 32 minutes to 40 or something. It'll be different. But for the regular season right now, they're kind of just jostling in position back and forth with Minnesota, Denver. Like, we're going to see maybe them shorten that up as we get going, like towards the end of the season. But as for right now, they're just going 9 guys, sometimes 10 guys deep into the bench. And Josh Giddey's the main dude who gets cut as a result.
Alrighty.
You didn't see anything specific where they...
No, that's why I was asking. It's like, did I miss something?
No.
Sometimes you're saying,
nope.
Coach said XYZ player wasn't going to play, or this person, the Utah scenario there with the...
Yeah, so one thing for FanDuel purposes, I do think Lou Dort is probably the best play on this team because of the multi-positional eligibility, shooting guard, small forward there, 4,700. Defensively, he can run into a couple of stocks and things can pan out for him in that regard. That's obviously going to behoove you a lot better with the FanDuel scoring because that's what he's out there to do. He's got 1.5 blocks plus steals per game. You run into his average over there, that's 4.5 fantasy points as opposed to 3 over on DraftKings. That's going to change his baseline quite a bit. And 4,700 isn't exactly cost prohibitive. He's just about got the exact amount of ownership and optimal percentage at the moment here. 27.3% ownership, 26.3% optimal. One of the more interesting pieces there. I do think SGA is a phenomenal tournament play. 11-1 over on FanDuel. Nobody's going to want to get to him relative to some of the other positions. He's point guard only, but 15% ownership, 15% optimal percentage, right around 10% ownership. And I will say SGA has come in really low in some of these tournaments on FanDuel here lately, which has always been a little bit shocking for me. One of the guys that I would be looking at potentially boosting a little bit, getting just a little bit of SGA in your life because of that optimal percentage.
Just a touch, just a little taste.
See how it feels. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Moving over to the Bucks. Clearly it is Giannis, Lillard, Middleton, and then things kind of get a little mucky, messy, icky. Talk about those higher end plays, and then is there anybody else that pops up for you from? Do you fear the deer? Do you fear not playing any of the deer other than those 3?
Well, not a ton. I mean, I would fear it. You're going to run into one of these games where it's Malik Beasley who completely goes nuts. And I will say they're coming in pretty under-owned over on FanDuel right now. Those main iterations, the Giannis, Malik Beasley, Brook Lopez, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton. I think we got to start having the Chris Middleton conversation. I've been waiting for it. I didn't know what the price point was going to be on him going forward here, but I think we're starting to run into the realm where he's going to see a spike in minutes here to like, I know we got to 33 against Boston. That was a wild run out, if you ask me. Now, I do think, there were some pieces out there in that one. Maybe they just pushed it a little bit there. We've got him in for 29 minutes, but like, I didn't think we were going to be talking about Chris Middleton for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, but 33 minutes, if we start looking 34, 35, he is at 6,600 now. I know got a little bit of a kick up, which, made it a little bit less appealing, but this season he's been a 1.15 fantasy point per minute producer. He's sub 10%. And you know that when he's on the floor, he's going to have usage, 24% usage. Actually, between, with Giannis off the floor, they're going to stagger. And I think they're going to stagger it more in favor of Middleton being on the floor with a Dame rather than Middleton being on the floor with a Giannis during some of those minutes with the backups. So I think this bodes well for like taking some shots on Chris Middleton and getting to him there. Damian Lillard, I know that he went completely scorched earth. Last time out, 37 minutes against Brooklyn, 33% usage. Really nice to see 12 assists here. With Giannis back here at 11-4, I do think Giannis is rightfully the guy who's getting a lot more ownership, but we haven't seen a lot of Dame just have those random ceiling games alongside of Giannis, but maybe this jumpstarts him a little bit. Maybe we can find our way onto a little bit, but you said the core three guys. For me, my order is definitely going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo, then Chris Middleton, and then Brook Lopez. I'm not going to be getting to like 11.4% of him. I know you can play two centers on DraftKings 5,300. Maybe this is the game where he knocks down a bunch of threes, but because of Giannis being out there, the rebounding, we'll see that rebound rate come down. And this is an OKC team that you can definitely rebound the basketball against, and that's where I think Giannis is really going to shine here in this one. It's a competitive game environment, which both of these teams don't exactly run into all the time. Pretty much in love with getting to the Giannis piece here at his current ownership. I would expect that to come up, though.
I think that hits pretty much everything from that game that I wanted us to touch on. So let's continue on with a little bit of speed so we can get these questions. I see a couple super chats in there. Ace of Spades, we got you. We'll talk about potential boosts. So don't worry, I did not miss those. But let's get on to game number 3 here. Kind of that tiebreaker starting at 7 o'clock along with the OKC and Milwaukee game. We have the Golden State Warriors in Minnesota taking on the Timberwolves. You've got Anthony Edwards questionable, sore / dislocated / potentially sprained middle finger on his left hand. Hey, hopefully he doesn't have to play left-handed today and he can play right-handed since that is technically his predominant hand. And then you've got Rudy Gobert also dealing with that rib issue. He missed about 10 days, played in the last one, both and we hope it continues to do well. It's hard to know what's going on with the ribs, especially when you get into cartilage, other soft tissue. And
played 37 minutes.
It was big. It was big, but you remember the quarterbacks used to always wear those bulky flak jackets like in the 90s.
Yeah,
that was interesting. What do you have here for us? Because your Timberwolves looking good against Golden State tonight.
Yeah, they look good, but I mean, obviously, I'm always freaked out whenever it's a team that can stretch the floor and force Rudy out of the paint. And also, we're at a price point now where we really want to be playing some Rudy Gobert. So this is kind of like styles make fights. And I mean, what are we going to look at here from the Golden State side here? Draymond Green going to be playing on Rudy Gobert here. Obviously, Rudy's not a high usage guy by any means. High true shooting because he just plays close to the basket, 15% usage on the season. I'm worried. Again, we have him in for 33 minutes, though. So I got to say, we are projecting him on the low end for what I would expect his minutes to be based on what we've seen here recently. With no Karl Anthony Towns out there, you've ran into so many 40-point nights here. This just has more to do with, I think we are rightfully taking the minutes down a little bit to react to what Golden State is probably going to do, which is just force a bunch of shooting on the floor. Tracy Jackson Davis, I mean, I don't think he's going to be a starter here in this spot, but obviously you would want to maybe get a larger body in on Rudy Gobert to go rebound. But I do think they'll just do their normal starting 5. I think we'll get the Draymond Green at the 5, for a couple of minutes there to begin on Rudy Gobert. They'll analyze it from there, but I would expect Klay Thompson to be out on the floor quickly, Chris Paul to be out on the floor quickly, and for them to try to go small and really, really force Rudy Gobert out of the paint. And this is kind of the framework team that does that. This is Golden State. They're the team that, emphasized small ball in the NBA here in recent years. And I definitely, you look at this kind of ownership on Rudy Gobert, seeing him as one of the most popular plays on the slate, 33% ownership, second most popular play behind TJ McConnell. Freaks me out a lot, but we did bring those minutes down to account for it already. I think in more competitive spots, if, they're not completely going and torching him, if, Wiggins coming back in, if everybody's knocking down shots and forcing Gobert out, like maybe we see those minutes come down indeed and they'll go small ball 5 to match up with it. But as it stands right now, it's really hard, really, really hard not to like Rudy Gobert with no Karl Anthony Towns out on the floor.
Do you see, and I know you like these kind of intricate matchups, and since this is your team, do you see any the Warriors being more of an advantageous matchup that we could see a little more Naz Reid in 4 minutes? We could see Kyle Anderson a little more front court minutes. Does one of them have a better read? I mean, they're both going to be better read. Do you have a good analysis on
I know what you mean.
One of those getting the edge over the other, but they're both, core plays on this team, able to do a variety of things. But do we have anything that's air quotes sneaky?
I think Naz Reid, because of the power forward eligibility on FanDuel 7,200, his ownership, 3.6%, optimal percentage is 7.7. So yeah, there's some positive leverage there on a 4-gamer to get there. There's a part of me that wants to pull the trigger on DK here as well. It's really hard. I mean, Naz Reid, this is the matchup that we've seen him go completely berserk here in recent years on. Going back to last year, he started against Golden State in Golden State last year, played 36 minutes and put up 61 fantasy points. That was pretty freaking useful. That was a fun one. But you have Karl Anthony Towns out there. You have Naz Reid out there. Like that's a lot easier for me to see that small ball iteration with Rudy Gobert really being your only true center to go to there outside of a Naz Reid. Like Naz Reid would benefit here from small ball lineups, but like if Rudy Gobert is just torching him on the interior, it goes the opposite direction. I mean, it's like a push and pull situation. They're going to be playing so many matchup based things that it's hard for me to like say, oh, we want to play Naz Reid at 7K here because he'll be on the floor more or whatever. You still need him to torch what you expect for the minutes, which is 27, and the fantasy point per minute production. I mean, he right around a 1.1 guy is what we've got him in for this spot without Cat on the floor. But you still have Ant, you still have Mike Conley, you still have, Kyle Anderson with some ball handling duties. You've got usage coming up for Monty Morris, right around 17% on the season, which is higher than Conley and Anderson now. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Now, the starting 5 is going to dictate what we see because we've had Naz Reid start the last 3, but does this continue in this matchup? I'm not sure. If Naz ends up starting, if you see him start, then you could definitely talk me into getting to more Naz Reid here, but there is a definite chance that is not the case here today. So be paying close attention. Kyle Anderson fell out of the starting lineup last time out. That was the Rudy Gobert getting in there for Kyle Anderson. I would think they would go to Kyle Anderson in this matchup and have Naz Reid be the backup off the bench, but we'll see. I'm going to be reacting that starting lineup, so I'll be paying very, very close attention to it because I believe we have Kyle Anderson as the presumed starter right now in our projections.
Alrighty, and then let's hit the final game, and then we can spend some time dedicated here to the questions, to anything else that pops up. We've gotten that Caleb Martin is in. We've got Evan Mobley starting, Middleton and Giannis confirmed in. You've got the full Cleveland lineup. It is going to be Garland, LeVert, Okoro, Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. So we'll circle through all that. We'll give projections time to trickle through any news that they had not already anticipated within that, and finish with our last game here. This is the wait forever game. You've got the Indiana Pacers in Los Angeles taking on the Lakers. A bunch of people on the Indiana injury list, they really don't matter, or some of them are in the G League, so let's not worry about them. Anthony Davis, probable. LeBron James, questionable. Key things to know about this one. Los Angeles trying to stay ahead of Golden State for that last play-in spot. Los Angeles can just about reach up and get two teams ahead of them to get at least the home game in that play-in tournament, or if they get a little gust of wind in their sails and a little bit of luck, they can climb all the way to the 6th seed. We're entering must-win territory. This is a very important one for Los Angeles because they're about to leave on a 6-game East Coast road trip here. So this would be the one to play everybody, get the win, rather than wait until you're in Milwaukee. And they do have a couple easier East Coast games here, but this would be one to win. On the other side, you've got the Pacers. We saw Tyrese Halliburton have his best game since like January 3rd. In the last one there, Eric. I know he is someone that you have followed with quite closely here, trying to be with the critical eye on the side here, saying, what's going on? Is he healthy? Is this happenstance? Was this a mirage? No, he did hit half his shots. Let's set aside the 4 blocks and 3 steals or vice versa. The 7 stocks, that's not replicable, but he played 38 minutes. He had a really, really good game. That makes it interesting in this one. Start us off here with the Pacer side of things, and maybe just how do you feel about Halliburton, of course, since he is the core, the heartbeat, if you will, of this team?
Yeah, starting Halliburton, obviously he's 9K and in an outrageously good game environment. You're looking at a team in the Lakers that have completely sold out defensively in order to just garner offense every single time out. That's the Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell effect. I mean, you paid Reeves in the offseason. You couldn't exactly find a dance partner for D'Angelo Russell for the last year. And, even though you knew come playoff time last season, it didn't work out for you. We'll run it back. I know Russell's played better before the deadline and, things have been hit and miss for him, but this is just obviously a phenomenal game environment, 242 total. And then some of the price points for some of these guys coming down. Halliburton was 10K-ish, obviously the hamstring, we don't know exactly how healthy he is, but he is freaking 9K against the Lakers. That's just not going to be something that 7 stock, sure, last time out, sure, if you want to point to that and say outlier, yeah, that's definitely an outlier for a guy who averages around 2 of them per game, but he's nearly a 1.5 fantasy point per minute producer. And, without Benedict Mathurin there for the rest of the year, that was a high usage dude who could come in off the bench and, when he was starting or come off the bench and just kind of nuke some of what that value is going to be for him there. Aaron Nesmith at times has kind of shown out here, but there's no doubt that when you get 9K Tyrese Halliburton at 25-ish% here on a 4-game slate, that is somebody who can be very, very valuable. I really like getting to him. I like getting to a ton of this, and we'll see what the overlap is between TJ McCollum and Tyrese Halliburton lineups. I have no problem playing them in the same lineups on a 4-game slate. If this were an 8-10 gamer, obviously the minutes would be in flux a little bit here, considering they're not exactly going to go out of their way to have them on the floor together. We have maybe like 3 or 4 minutes of overlap projected for them. 19 minutes for TJ McConnell, the most popular play on the slate, but from a fantasy point per minute production standpoint, 1.26 against this Lakers team that obviously is going to have Russell and Reeves on the floor a majority of the time. It's just such a good matchup. I like both of them. I do think Obi Toppin is probably the dude that we have projected a lot more ownership than what I'm seeing at other places right now. But I totally get it. This dude is 3,200, 0.9 fantasy point per minute spot, and can play himself into some extra minutes from time to time. I know that that's a ton of ownership to be inheriting for it, but you get to 20 or 25 minutes like we've seen in a couple recently. I mean, this is such a valuable piece here on a 4-game slate to get some of these studs, to get to the Halliburtons, the Davises, the LeBrons, whomever else that you want to be getting to. And we'll get to the other side of this game in a second, but I think Obi Toppin probably comes in a little bit lower than we currently have projected, which has me very interested in the Sims tool, very interested in him as well. And Jalen Smith, of course, 4K. Feels like an eternal tournament piece. Like, I feel like he's always in my lineups, and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm trying to get myself onto more Aaron Nesmith. Again, he's the guy that I think ends up really popular, maybe relative to the 30% we have projected, but this is no doubt about it, a great game environment for both sides of it. And, Indy always brings the other team into play a lot more, but this is nice for them to be getting a comparable pace on the other side for once.
Yeah, God, their front court rotation, their bench players, it can just be infuriating. I was taking a little bit of a look through Obi Toppin myself this morning in playoffs for some season league stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
Got to stream on a Sunday. You want to make it to that
Yeah.
next round here. So he was someone that popped up. Jalen Smith was popping up because they have, I believe they play again tomorrow. I can't remember now. I was looking through a bunch
I'll
of
tell
different
you here in
things.
2 seconds.
But that was one of my two categories, but I needed threes.
Yeah, they have
And
the LA double. They have the
LA
Sunday,
double,
Monday
okay.
LA double. That's become like a popular thing here. I mean, again, Clippers playing now, and then you flip the court over. I feel like they've done that a bunch here recently, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is going back to the Clippers court for tomorrow night.
So anyway, that was one where I looked at Obi Toppin and I'm like, this feels like a matchup where they may dust him off just a little bit more with that
Yeah.
front court size by the Lakers. Ultimately, I ended up with Smith because
Yeah.
wanted some threes, and God, please don't DNP randomly, baby Huey looking dude. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of an interesting one there.
Somebody
Anything?
talking about Andrew Nemhard there. I never get to Andrew Nemhard. He always ends up over-owned. He's 4,300. I get the appeal. He got to 33 minutes last time out. But since this Ben Shepherd thing started showing out, where he's just like, he is a locked-in rotation piece for this team, been playing teens minutes pretty much nonstop. And then in games where Nemhard doesn't get it going, it becomes like what, 24, 20, 22 here for Ben Shepherd. I know this sounds really dumb to say, but like I'm more inclined to take tournament shots on Ben Shepherd than I am Andrew Nemhard. It's just that's how ridiculous this has gotten to, and it just has all to do with like 3,100. I have 6% Andrew Nemhard in 50 lineups. I have how much Ben Shepherd? 2%. Okay, so I guess that's not exactly factually accurate, but like in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I'm looking to get to one and I'm hand building out a lineup or looking at a 20 lineup deal in the $4 or something, I know it sounds ridiculous, but like Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd, the $3,100, $3,200 price points, I think that does a lot just in terms of like what their optimal scores can be. Maybe this game gets a little wonkier. Maybe you run into some extra minutes for them in somehow, some way, shape, or form. And then the price points kind of take over from there.
All right, hit on the Lakers. Anything outside of the dynamic duo? You kind of did mention Russell a little bit there. Any Reeves? Anybody?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Lakers get to face a Pacers team that lives to their name this season, second in pace behind the Wizards, 102.2 possessions per 48 minutes. As you look through it, I mean, obviously LeBron James is always listed as questionable. I always assume that he's going to be playing basketball, but you always want to have a backup plan in the event that just somehow he doesn't play. So, the $1,100 is a lot to be trimming off going down from LeBron to Tyrese Halliburton, or you got to find $300 to get up to AD, and AD already just pulling the most ownership of any stud here, and rightfully so. You get that power forward eligibility back, and it's been useful, friends. 40 minutes against Philly, complete evisceration. He is just on the boards doing ridiculous things. So, I mean, the rebound totals rivaling the point totals at times. It is so like game script proof. It's so like this is an opportunistic spot going up against Indy, no doubt about it. But we've got him in for just north of a 1.5 fantasy point per minute rate, which is what he's been all season long here. Obviously, if LeBron sits, there you go, Yahtzee. But still, highest owned stud that I have in my lineups, him and Giannis, just getting to a ton of those two here at the moment. LeBron obviously could end up a little bit lower owned. The Q tag, people do seem to, he just always seems to be coming in a little bit under owned on a couple of these slates. And, that's always a good reason to get there with the small forward, power forward eligibility. But I will say, I want to be playing a lot of D'Angelo Russell. I'm trying to get myself there. I have a ton of Austin Reeves exposure here at the moment. The price point's starting to come back down to like reasonable proportions. What is he at now? 6,800 here over on DraftKings. He was 7,300 a couple of games ago, and not really getting the minutes that you're looking for to really make that happen. He had just gone through a torrid pace of play there, played 36, 37 minutes about a week ago, in pretty much every single spot, and was smashing, and got that price point got to a ridiculous spot. But I do think that we're going to see more ownership coming in on Russell, and we're going to see a little bit less coming in on Reeves right now. And I don't find a whole hell of a lot different between the two of them. Both around a fantasy point per minute rate, both around 21% usage here. You do have the assist bump there for D'Angelo Russell, but in tournaments, I think the ownership gap that you're going to get between Russell and Reeves isn't exactly warranted the way that it would seem to represent across the industry right now.
Alrighty, we've got 21 minutes left. I did want to make one more call out here for Prize Picks. They do have a reduced prop for Tyon Grant Foster. He is playing against Alabama today. That is going to be available for about 90 more minutes. They have lowered it to 16.5 points. This is college basketball, if you haven't figured that out yet. College basketball, 16.5 points down from 21.5. This is something that Prize Picks does quite regularly on Tuesdays. They call it Taco Tuesday. They're serving up 3 or 4 different tacos. They will do discounted prop lines on a variety of players. Usually they'll do a Twitter vote, a Discord vote, and then they usually put up 2 more on their own. That is something that you want to pay attention to. You can usually put $25 on each one. You could create 5 $5 cards. That's the one nice thing over here on Prize Picks. A lot of the other sites just let you make one card with whatever the discount is. The other thing they have over there is goblins and demons. So if you go with a goblin, it's the little green guy. What that does is it lowers the payout on something, but it also artificially pushes down whatever the prop is. Demons pushes up the prop. It's like the little devil, right? If you think you've got a hunch and you want to put your money where it's going to pay out more, you go with these demons here, and that elevates the payout. Now you can't pick an under on a demon. That's the only thing, but you could put 2 or 3 in a 2 or 3 player card, and all of a sudden, instead of 2x, 3x, 4x, it gets up to 5x, 7x. But they do put little stretch goals in there, so that's something fun. But again, coming through the our link, and you get a $100 deposit match on your first deposit, as well as 1 full month of Odd Shopper free.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to say special shout out Chris Williams. He gave us a $20 super chat. I know people were going back and forth talking about stuff earlier, but just want to say a stupid comment from John towards you, Eric. If every single host was right about every single pick out of thousands of picks every single week, everyone would be rich. It's giving good plays off data given. Yes, it is emphasizing the data, and then also just paying attention to rotations, paying attention to minutes, having late swap in mind, because late swap, we have no more of those non-late swap ones. He added a $5 super chat then too, that he got help to bang multiple 5-figure scores. Dude, you're in here all the time. He then gave out 5 incredible subs to people. I mean, the guy is just as nice of a guy as you'll ever run into. But also, I think criticism is fair. Obviously, did it suck to have Day'Ron Sharp? We had Sean V, my favorite, hanging out there. I wanted to remind me that there was one time that I got one thing wrong, which is always hilarious to me, because one call and one play does not a sample size make. Sample size is many things over any course of time. A lot of times it's going to take multiple slates, multiple opportunities to realize your expected value on just about anything. An Odd Shopper, you're getting tons of bets, you're throwing them together. In DFS, we get tons of slates, and we're trying to just realize our expected value over time to beat the rake and to make you tons of money. So glad that happened for Chris. Glad I was able to help anybody else as well. But I welcome criticism, because I feel like it always makes me better.
And it is fair to get that when you come out here and stand in front of things and talk about stuff and are rewarded for it, aka paid to do it, you got to earn your stripes. And if you're not doing a good job of it, it just then you're not going to last. And one thing we have here is a lot of people with a long track record, and that is something that's important. You look at Lindy; he's doing overnight calls on every NBA game Monday through Friday on the Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. He's going to do the same thing.
No
for
pressure.
MLB. Yeah, no pressure. Only become one of the most popular YouTube videos out there in that particular space. I do about 500 articles a year. You want to have a humbling experience? Write up a prop every single day and see how it does, along with everything else, right? So we stand by our content.
I also find it ironic. Maybe this is not your deal, but people definitely tune into my videos more coming off of a bad slate than off of good slates. Like, I've been on a ridiculous pace the last 2 months, and I was like, why are my views down? It's like, oh yeah, people aren't coming in to come yell at me every single day, which doesn't exactly go to my benefit sometimes. But again, I would much rather be making everybody money than not making everybody money, and trying to be useful and helpful in all the ways, shapes, and forms. I don't think we have a ton of late swap to take advantage of here on this slate. It's really going to come down to a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, embracing some volatility with a guy like, I'm not saying Ben Shepherd. I'm not saying we have to go, load up over there, but like definitely an Obi Toppin. I think that that's a good calculated risk to be making on a slate like this. And the Sims tool, the data here, is going to do all of that hard work, so I don't have to go and be redundant. I don't have to go out of my way to say things that I don't mean, to try to like spark outrage or to try to like be impactful. Like for me, it's just like, hey, this is the data. This is the way that I see the minutes playing out. This is the way that it's been. Here's something that could pan out. I think how we decide to utilize Rudy Gobert, TJ McConnell feels unavoidable because of what he is, and we know he's a backup already, can get elevated into more minutes. But like how we handle Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, stuff like that on this kind of a slate is going to make or break your day. I think we just want to be very, very data centric with it and not try to get too cute. Try not to get too cute.
All righty, let's hit some super chats, clean these up. We'll talk about some Discord, and that's basically going to take us up to lock here. Let's do Ace of Spades with the tiers option. Do you have that information in front of you, or would you like me to? Okay, take it away then.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to just go down the line of what you have, what I have? Yeah, so tier 1, are we pretty clear cut that it's going to be Giannis?
Agreed.
Okay, tier 2, Anthony Edwards, by a lot.
Yeah, he's 4 median points ahead of the next guy.
Yeah, tier 3 for me, it's such a close one. I'm going to go Jimmy Butler because I do think the Rudy Gobert minutes freak me out, man. But I like both of them.
I'm leaning towards Chet Holmgren. That's going to be one of my differentiation spots.
That's normally my guy. That's normally me.
He's about 3 median points below Butler and Gobert, but that's still fine. That's basically a block, so I'm okay with that.
Let's go to tier 4, Karis LeVert by a lot from. Oh, no. I'm a liar. I'm a damn dirty liar. Jalen Williams, for me, it's very close.
I think I would land on Williams as well. The top 3 guys are projected within a point of each other. Angelo Russell, I know ad nauseum we've gotten there with him. He would be the pivot.
All right. Draymond Green for me in tier 5. Although, again, Chris Middleton, somebody I am very high on for tournaments today.
All right. I'm gonna be the chalk donkey. I'm going with Middleton. I do like the increased minutes. I do like that I don't like it, but I know why they sat him out on the back-to-back. But I think 32 minutes is very much in play, and I think that's a difference maker for him. Tier 5.
Yep. And Kyle Anderson for me, but again, that is assuming that he gets the start. If he does not get the start, I would be going Aaron Nesmith.
Okay. I think that's fair, and plenty of pivots on this one. You can pivot to they've got 4 guys in on the Golden State side. So if you don't like what happens with the Kyle Anderson starting lineup, you've got some maneuverability here. All right, is there anybody you're boosting or adjusting in the Sims today on FanDuel?
On FanDuel, interesting. I talked about a couple of guys that I was thinking about for it, where it was like a little love tap here, a little love tap there. I'm pretty sure I'll end up boosting Middleton, but I am at the moment not. I'm finishing over my DraftKings stuff, and then I will finish up my FanDuel stuff. We haven't really gotten any massive news. We only have the 1 game locking here in the early portion of it, so should be easy to go through. I'll be utilizing the late swap tool. Probably will do a boost or 2 there based on what we see for that Minnesota starting lineup. Naz Reid or Kyle Anderson. Again, I do think Naz Reid is probably the most probable guy to start because he's started the last 3, obviously, but him, Kyle Anderson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, those minutes all feel like they're going to be around 28 to 30 for each one of them. So I'm not going to go crazy in the event that it ends up being Naz starting over him. But Kyle Anderson, again, I do think I'd have to trim a couple of minutes that I have in for him at the moment. And so probably be getting an ROI down boost in the event that he doesn't start.
Right. We've got Barry Deering says DeLon Wright or Patty Mills. Patty Mills is in the starting lineup. Not a surprise. This will be his 3rd consecutive start here for the Heat. They went with Rozier, Mills, Butler, Nikola Jovic, and Bam Adebayo. We have Mills, who has in the last 2 games where he started, played just 12 minutes in the last one. That was a blowout. He did not get any 4th quarter run. Kind of tapped out there in the 3rd quarter. And then against Cleveland, he had just a skosh of run in the 4th quarter. So he's really not going to close in some of these unless they want a little bit more offense out there. But he played 12 and 25 minutes. I would say you're looking around 22 minutes probably for Mills, 18 or so for DeLon Wright. I'd still slide towards DeLon Wright. I like the blocks and steals upside, more on the steal side.
All right, we got Clintwood 83. A couple of things we just got to catch up on here quick. Are you boosting adjusting Sims for FanDuel today? So yeah, so we got that one answered. Did the TK Tiers one, we did the Ryder Mills one, and then Cyclone Nation.
Which one do you want, Ryder Mills? I'm going right.
I would be going right between the two of them. I know Mills has the first crack at minutes, and we saw that ridiculous game that still makes me shake my head. It was like one of those things that as you're talking through him starting for the first time there, turn to Greg, and I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you, because like he's going to probably walk into more usage. They're trying to stretch the floor, and of course he goes in and only 1 for 8 from 3, still gets to 22 fantasy points at 3,100. At 3,400, they're kind of doing us a favor, where for me, now it just becomes like, well, I'll get to Delon Wright, probably going to play close to the same amount of minutes. Mills we have for 21 and a half, 18 for Wright, but $400 less, or sorry, $300 less is a pretty big deal to be able to actually land on it there. And I just don't see any kind of way, shape, or form that we're going to get Patty Mills just continuing to eviscerate us at a 0.63 fantasy point per minute rate. So yeah, definitely not going to be landing on the Mills side of things. Wright's getting more ownership because of the price point, better fantasy producer, but I think it's warranted.
Right. And then a couple more here. We've got, Cyclone Nation says, are you not entertained?
I love it, Ryan Nelson. Dude, I can't believe how good our team is. And plus, my folks are in Scottsdale. I'm going out there for Easter here this weekend. And then I might just be out there for a week and a half. If we make the Final Four, I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm just going to straight up Wolf of Wall Street it and not leave my parents' place. I will be doing just staying in, bunkering in, and going to that Final Four because it's in Glendale, Arizona, which is basically Phoenix. So very much about this Iowa State basketball team. I cannot believe how good they are.
All right. The next one, you may want to read it. This is, I think it's a 2v2 from Jay. I believe he's asking Clay and Giddy or Hillbilly Kobe and D'Lo. I don't know who
Hillbilly Kobe. Is that Austin Reeves? Is that the next? Yeah. I was going to say Eric Clay and Giddy. I mean, playing Reeves and Russell together, I have no problem with it. They're not going to cannibalize each other, really. They obviously start together. I would be kind of inclined to go to the second one, but I will say Klay Thompson is a dude that I probably end up boosting here when it's all said and done. There's a lot of ways that they just try to get Gobert off the floor, try to really, really space this out. I mean, that's the Golden State way of playing basketball as is. And if it's successful, I mean, it's hard for me to go in by each individual lineup when you're building, a bunch on DK, 50 on FanDuel, and just say, hey, let's take Klay and boost him in lineups without Gobert, yada, yada. I don't think I'm going to get that granular with it, but I'm definitely looking at Klay Thompson as a tournament piece I want to get to. But I love that game environment of Indy LA. I like the late night hammer. I like the opportunity to even have like a 10% chance that LeBron ends up sitting out of the middle of nowhere. It's happened this year. It's not a complete zero that he doesn't, or that he sits for sure. Both these teams are really trying to win. I know Indy's like 6th, I believe, in the East right now. Mm-hmm. You want to be in the top 6. That is for sure. And then the Lakers, they're just, trying to secure the play-in spot there. They're in 9th, 38 and 32 here. So both teams really want to win, but if this is the night that LeBron sits and you've got both of those pieces, Yahtzee. So I'll go to the second one.
Right. And then the last one just says, thanks to both of you today. I know we've got one over here in Discord.
Thank you to my dude, Samson. Samson, the $10 super chat. Appreciate you, my guy. We'll hang out in playback a little bit afterwards. Yes.
Yes, I will be there briefly.
Yeah, and obviously the D'Angelo Austin Reeves one is way better in the 2v2. Shout out producer Jacob for firing that up here. I just pulled up playback there, and he had everything all simmed out beautifully there. He had the 2v2 tool, or the player compare tool up, and definitely the second one based on our data.
All right. We had DK cash game locks. We have 7 minutes till lock here. Let me know if you need lineup time here.
I'm so far so good. I'm just uploading my DraftKings ones now, and then I will finish up FanDuel. Shouldn't be too big of a sweat here, but cash game locks on DK. I think TJ McConnell, Rudy Gobert, probably just the price point, and we already have the minutes decreased there from the get-go. And Anthony Davis has to be your dude. You're probably just playing a lot of that game in cash because of the price points on Jalen Smith, Obi Toppin. I'll run my optimal here quick. It's got 4 Pacers in it. So there you go. That's enjoyable to see.
Yeah, I think those are those are the tighter ones. It starts getting a little more nuanced down there. It's one of those salt to taste situations, but those would be the core I would try not to miss out on in your cash lineups. Let's see here.
God, I have a lot of D-line right. My dear God.
Can you quickly hit on just your top FD plays, FanDuel plays?
Yeah, so I'll pull that up here. Let me hit upload 1 second, and then I will be fully onto FanDuel here for the last 6 minutes of this program. And favorite FanDuel tournament plays, or is this
just
cash as well?
Favorite FanDuel. I would just hit your top bet every position.
Okay. There we go. So DK is done. X out. We are on to FanDuel only here for the last however long of this. Pulling up my Sims on that and my FanDuel stuff here. It would appear, friends, that I am playing so much Anthony Edwards over on FanDuel today compared to DK. He's 10K, but shooting guard, small forward over there. I think that is really the place that I want to be utilizing him. Going to be an awesome, awesome watch. Golden State, Minnesota, two teams that made me a lot of money here in the second half of this season, specifically Golden State. So I'm going to be staying far, far, far away from that one from a betting perspective. Did pull the trigger on Oklahoma City plus 2.5 for anybody who cares and wants to tail me in that regard. But I think Aaron Nesmith, small forward, power forward, is one of the better plays. Good chalk. Austin Reeves, 6,800 on FanDuel, identical tag to DraftKings. If you've talked, or I mean, we say this all the time. It's like if it's the same tag, FanDuel, it's going to be the better play. He is rightfully getting boosted up there for sure. And then LeBron James, 10-1 over on FanDuel. That is awfully useful. He's going to be a little bit chalkier over there, but his boom percentage is out of this world good. Just plug that into the sheet here. And him, Pascal Siakam seem to be two guys that I'm just getting a little bit more of over on FanDuel here at the moment. And then it would appear on like the tournament play end of the road here, Chris Middleton. I love getting to him for tournaments. And again, 7,400 shooting guard, small forward, giving him 4 chances to really crack the optimal in some kind of capacity there. You walk into 30 minutes of him, I would take 30 minutes right now and just kind of see where I stood, considering he's got 5.5% ownership. So I did give him the boost over in the Sims to get to a little bit of him. Naz Reid, I have a plan in place for that one. If he starts, I'm going to get to a little bit of him on DK. I'll get to a lot more of him on FanDuel, though, because of the power forward center, 7,200. I think that has a little bit more utility for me here. And then I'm just taking some shots on like Isaiah Joe, 3,900. Getting to a little bit of Bobby Portis sub 7K. Like there's some really disgusting plays that I'm kind of rotating in that $3, but I think it's going to be a really, really fun slate.
It is. And there's going to be so much PMR sitting on that last game. It's not even funny.
Oh, yeah.
I went ahead, we got 3 minutes to go. I went ahead and just capped everybody on at 50% on mine. I didn't have anybody over 60 with the exception of no, I don't even remember which player it was, but I decided I didn't want to lean out over my skis on that one. But now I've got about 7 players capping at 50, which is just perfect for me, getting a mix and match here. I'm gonna the nice thing I learned is you can easily add, like if you click 100 on the favorite lineups, you can click 20 and now you have 120 favorite lineups. I love that little feature there. So I am going to now I unclicked it because I'm an idiot while I'm talking here. So I will download my lineups, upload them over there on DK. But I have loved the Sims tool lately. If you guys are not trying it out, get in any chance you can to try out the Sims. We've done a few offers and little enticement deals here and there, but it's definitely worthwhile, especially as we head into baseball. We'll talk about that when we get into playback. All righty, we have 2 minutes left. My lineups are uploaded. I don't see
mine aren't on FanDuel yet, but I will get there.
So you keep doing that. I've got the news window up here. We want everybody to slide on over there to playback. We'll keep those games going for a while tonight. I made it till about 9:30 and had to go to bed last night, but I think somebody else stuck around and hit the live button a couple more times for everybody. So that was a good one. Premium Odd Shopper, I mentioned that you guys could get in on that via the Prize Picks offer. But if you've already signed up for Prize Picks, you can get in on Odd Shopper. You just missed out on the $1 for 1 week promotion we did for March Madness. You got to pay attention to this stuff, but it's $14.95 per week, $49.95 per month. That does include all of the Discord channels where people are discussing plays, where the main contributors such as Eric and Greg and Aton and Isaiah and Nate are all putting in their picks. They are critiquing others, are talking parlays. We're looking for boosts, trying to do some different things across the industry. So that is a lot of fun, utilizing the market-based approach of OddsShopper. But again, parlays and other things we talk about in there as well. Plus, OddsShopper is capable of handling building out cards for you on Prize Picks, Sleeper, Underdog, etc., etc. All right, we were about 40 seconds away from lock. Did you had a good euphoric moment earlier this week of getting your lineup saying I was doing about the same thing.
That was so real too. And people are like, oh, he's faking it. He's faking it. There was absolutely nothing fake about that. That was, well, no, the James Wiseman one was easy. I just jammed 100% lock button and moved on with my life there. But
I can't remember which night it was, but there was one that was.
Oh yeah, there was one sweat where I thought I had everything uploaded and I was off by one column, which is always the worst when you're pasting it in. And I was like, oh shit, I had to redo everything because I had closed out all my tabs and closed out everything. And I had like 40 seconds to do it. And I somehow did it. So that was fun.
All right. Oh, sorry. In all of this, we missed the nuke of the night. Shall we?
I said Middleton. I put it in the chat. Okay. People were asking for it, and I kept clamoring on him enough where I was like, yeah, he seems like an appropriate nuke, but tons of positive leverage going his direction. Nice to see the minutes upside right from the get-go. Again, I did not see that coming anytime soon, but you have to have the Chris Middleton talk when the ownership just doesn't seem to be there. I'm very curious where it ends up at, but over on FanDuel, the multi-positional eligibility, I think that really makes it interesting on a 4-gamer. Those are the kind of calculated stance that I like to take where it's like, hey, maybe we just get 32, 34 now, nonstop. There's no babying anymore. Loved getting myself to some Middleton today.
All right, so I just dropped that playback link into the YouTube chat. We're going to close out Zoom here. So producer, what are we doing there? Oh, okay, so sorry. So producer Jacob can continue on with his evening. I'll stick around for a few minutes, and then I gotta go pack some more boxes. Well, I'm now carrying them out to the pod in the driveway, so that's less than fun, but I'd like to do it before it starts to get dark and cold in here. So
good idea.
But to playback we go. But thank you everybody for tuning in. You can find Eric on Twitter at Eric Lindquist. I am at EMac DFS, and it is stochastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.